Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I get to simplify marketing and mindset for chiropractors as well, so you can have more impact, income, and enjoyment in practice. If I could wave a wand over my life, and if I could suggest that there might be a superpower, then being really amazing at coping with change might be one thing that I would ask for, or maybe kind of grant to somebody. Here's why. Life is ever changing. We are given new opportunities. We come across new challenges, what seems like almost on a weekly basis at the moment with this current world that we're in there too. The ability to be able to adapt and change is life. I think there's a quote from Charles Darwin that goes, "It's not the smartest or the strongest of species that survived, it's those that are most likely to change or have the ability to change." Now, he said it way cooler than that, but I think you know where I'm going to. Now, today's episode is with a chiropractor, Miguel Cruz. He's been in chiropractic for 41 years as well. And he has been an incredible teacher for me. He has been a student of mine over the last 18 months, but he's probably taught me more than I could ever have taught him as well. 41 years in practice, he is like a child with his enthusiasm. His ability to be able to constantly reinvent himself and do new things is unlike anybody I've ever seen. It explains a little bit about why that is in this episode. Now, a word before you get into this, there are some moments where the connection gets a little bit kind of drop in and outy. Firstly, let me apologize for that. But secondly, please stick through this. There is some absolute gold in there. So 41 years in practice. This year he is having a record year. Volume, numbers, collections, visitors to his website. I want you to imagine that for a moment, being 41 years in practice and being record results there as well. On top of that, he also shares some incredible tips on why 37 years of marriage, he still is having a passionate, loving, wonderful relationship. Make sure you're listening to what his 30-day challenge was as well. That's enough for me talking about the amazing Miguel Cruz. Let's go in and I'll introduce you to. See you in there.
Welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast, where we guide natural health and wellness experts through the pitfalls of marketing. Each episode, you'll learn simple, effective, easily actionable, and heart-centered marketing strategies. And here's your host, Angus Pyke.
Miguel Cruz, welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me. I feel very honored.
Hey, buddy, I have been looking forward to this chat with you since we hooked it up a week or so ago. You have, over this last 12, 18 months since I've got to know you, you've become one of the people that I admire so much, and we'll talk a lot about that today. We're going to talk, the theme of today's chat, what I want to talk about is reinventing yourself, getting really great at change, and constantly adapting. And I think if there was a poster person for this, it would absolutely be you. But why don't we start with this? Perhaps give people just a little thumbnail of who you are, what you do, where you work, and then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritties after that.
Okay, well, I'm a chiropractor in the mountains of North Carolina, and been in practice. This is my 40th year in practice. Graduated from Life College in 1981, and it's been a great ride. Been having fun.
Yep. Now, you first reached out to me and you purchased my video influence course. That must have been, let's say, 18 months ago, give or take. I should have got the exact, more or less. Yeah.
Right.
And so you're 40 years in practice, and you've decided it's time to start making some videos. What led to you wanting to do that?
Well, you know, it's been something that my staff has done, and I've just not been really happy with kind of how that's being happening. I'm like, all right, I got to learn how to do this. I've been not wanting to learn how to do that for many years here, and I'm like, okay, it's time to learn. So what I've learned over the years, if you want to learn how to do something, get a coach. So you were recommended by my other coach, Dr. Russ Rosen. So I purchased your program, and it's been a godsend. It really has. So one of those things, you just got to keep learning. So I just made myself learn it.
One of the things that was immediately evident when I started working with you is your ability to implement. And almost immediately, you were getting little videos to me for me to have a look at. And I would suggest a change, and then you would make that change, and then you would get me back the next iteration of a video as well. Have you always been a great student?
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. I've had a lot of coaches, and I've always been complimented that, hey, if I'm paying somebody, I might as well do what they're saying, even maybe if it doesn't work. But if it doesn't work, that's a lesson in itself. So
Yes.
you move on to the next one, and you just keep implementing. You keep changing things up until you find the right combination.
You said something before, Miguel, that's not a given, which is, I'm paying somebody, so I may as well implement it. I'm fascinated by the number of students that I have that buy my courses and continue to pay me on a monthly basis that don't do that too. I think that's, so I want to just acknowledge that about you too. But the second thing that really stood out for me is your absolute passion and enthusiasm, not just for life, but particularly still for chiropractic after, as you mentioned beforehand, 40 years, that you're still incredibly excited about it too. Why is that? Why are you still so damn enthusiastic about going to work every day and setting big goals and achieving great things after 40 years?
Well, I've asked myself that question a few times, and what the answer comes up is it's not what I do, it's what I am. It's
Mhm.
who I am. As a matter of fact, along those lines, my wife and I dated for several months, and then I said, well, you need to come into the practice and let me check you and become a patient here while we were dating. And she was hesitant, and I said, you don't understand something. Chiropractic is not what I do. It's part of my life. So if you can't be part of that life, then we're probably not going to go anywhere.
Mhm.
And so she's my biggest fan right now, and basically she works in the practice with me, and she's a big part of our success. But yeah, I don't plan on retiring.
Mm.
40 years, and I think I've got another 20 years in me. My wife was just mentioning, how about if we just do 10 more? I'm like, we'll see. But I'm only practicing part time right now, and we're really enjoying it. We're enjoying the ride. I had to add an extra day to the. We were doing just 3 days, and I had to add a half a day in because we couldn't fit everybody in. And it was like, darn, it's a good problem to have, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We're
Well, you've mentioned to me, and we'll get into this a little later on, because you're having record years and record collections, constantly implementing new things to practice. And I do want to get into that as well. I wonder if one of the reasons too that you are so damn enthusiastic about it is not just because of chiropractic is who you are. You have this amazing ability to constantly, whether it's reinvent yourself or evolve as well. But the practice that you have at the moment is whether it's version 4 or 5 from there too, there's been very big and significant jumps along the way. Can you perhaps explain a little bit about that? Explain the jumps that you've had along and how your practice has evolved?
okay. Well, I was when I graduated from Life College, Sid Williams was our president, and he was a big straight chiropractor. Um, and I graduated. I was what we called back then a gondroid.
Yes.
So I was a straight Gonstead practitioner. Carried my little box of my nervous scope with me everywhere I went, and that was very successful for me for probably a good 15 years of practice.
Mm.
And then I started delving into some therapies, and that worked really good as well. Um, but then I started realizing, there's some people that just weren't responding, and they'd go to another chiropractor and they got response. I said, okay, it's time to expand my horizons a little bit. So I started taking other seminars and learning other techniques, and really I've never quit since then. I was a Gonstead diplomate, and very proud of that at the time. But then I realized, there's other things. So I've gotten certifications in upper cervical work. I've done 100 hours of AK. Currently, I'm doing Carrick's work, which has been quite challenging but rewarding as well. I've done CBP, TRT with Dr. Jay Holder. I could probably name a few other things. Currently, I do most of my adjusting using an instrument. So they've been definite reinventions of myself, and I think that's been one of the things that's kept it fresh. Because every time you reinvent, it's like, oh man, you're like, it's kind of like starting over all again. You get that start over enthusiasm. So every time I learn a new technique, and again, I guess it goes along with what you're saying with, I'm implementing what you're telling me. Well, if I'm learning a technique, I bring it to the office, and I buy the tools, and I get the tables, and I revamped my whole X-ray department because I learned upper cervical work, and I had to go, darn, now I got to take upper cervical X-rays, so I had to redo everything on that just to be able to get those X-rays.
Yes.
But there's an enthusiasm for me that goes with that.
Yep.
And, I guess that's energy, and the energy brings people in, and it's a happy ride. I might drive my staff crazy, but it's okay.
I think it's interesting too, because, you talk about chiropractors who get burnt out. And I think there's lots of reasons why we get burnt out. I think sometimes burnt out might be an excuse for bored. If you're doing the same thing for 40 years, or in my case, 25 years coming in and out, if I look at the different iterations of my practice, I've been from pretty hardcore CBP. We had two-way traction inside the practice, and I went straight from that to TRT, to instrument adjusting. And then I went from that into Thompson. So I've had three really significant kind of versions of the practice. One of the things I find fascinating, I love your thoughts on this too, is that people will often say, well, how will my patients cope with that? Like, they get so used to being adjusted this way and they only want to be adjusted this way. How have your patients enjoyed the ride of the evolution of Miguel?
They've been, I've got patients been with me for 40 years. I think my second patient I ever had is still here in my practice. And they're kind of right along with it. Oh, you're learning something new, doc? Great. Let's see how it works. They want me to experiment on it. Try it out on me. Yeah, I've lost a few people. Now, when I went from straight manual manipulation to doing a lot of instrument work, I lost a few people because there's a few old timers that, doc, I want you to crack my back. And that's what they want. And I didn't think I needed to do that in their cases anymore, but I still do manual adjusting. But, there's some people, it's like, maybe we don't need to do this anymore. But the majority of them, man, they're right along for the ride, and you gain more than you lose every time. So anybody out there that's thinking about that, that loss, who am I going to lose? You're going to gain way more than you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Is my thoughts on that.
In marketing, when we're wanting to capture attention, two really powerful words are new and different. Which is why, there's the new version of the washing powder that comes out. There's the new and improved version of, you name it. Every product in the supermarket is constantly talking about the new and improved version. And they're doing that because they're wanting to constantly keep our attention there. And my experience is exactly the same. There have been a couple of peeps that really like to be adjusted the old way. And sometimes I'm able to keep that happening. But if I think that for some reason, I don't think that's best for them, and I don't want to kind of compromise on my integrity, some of them leave. But by far do you know what? I wonder anyway, Miguel, with a lot of those patients are probably on their way out anyway.
Yeah,
and they're looking for an excuse. And this is a nice, easy excuse for them. And by far, my patients often come under the umbrella of whatever you think is best, Angus. If this is what you think is best, then let's go for it. And that same thing there. So if our listeners are out there, have a bit of a dream to change and evolve their practice, and they're using that as a possible an excuse, I want to take that away from you. I think you'll be thrilled with how your patients love the excitement and the enthusiasm, and even that in itself is really, really attractive as well. I wondered when I started to really dive in and ask you about this ability for you to be able to kind of change on a penny, to turn around really quickly. And where did that come from? You told me an interesting story about your childhood and with regards to your parents as well. That change has been, and the ability to be okay with change has been something has been your life. Yes.
Absolutely. When I hit the ninth grade, that was my 10th school that I
Yes.
did. So my parents kept moving as they were moving up. My dad and mom came over as immigrants from Cuba,
Mm.
and I was born in the States. So basically, we went from living in the ghettos to an apartment to our first house, and then my dad kept buying houses in newer and better neighborhoods as his ability to provide for the family moved. So, and the crazy thing about it is they never did it at the end of a school year. It was always in the middle of the school year. So I had to make new friends over and over and over again. So change was part of my life.
Yeah, and I've got to figure that that is something that has really helped now. I'm sure it must have been incredibly difficult as a teenager to be constantly swapping through schools and moving neighborhoods now. But underneath all of where you are now, it's really clear that that's something that's kind of shone through that really helps you, in terms of where you are now. So we mentioned a little bit beforehand. This year has been a great year for you in practice. Back in January, we had a little training with when you were working with me inside of Community Influencer, where we talked about, I referred to as an impossible goal. You referred to as a BHAG as well there too. And, I pushed you to create that. And you sent me a little message recently saying that you had a really wonderful year as well. And without going into the nitty gritties of that as well, share with everybody a little bit about what's been happening with your practice over the last 12 months, what things you're seeing happening, and why do you think why is the growth that when so many chiropractors around the world in this current stage are having a really rough time in practice, you're having records after 40 years in practice?
Well, what you told us to, hey, set an impossible goal. And, quite frankly, I would have just been happy to just kind of hold on to what I had. It's not lose any ground here, okay, because of all the COVID craziness that was going on. So I said, all right, I'm going to have the best year, my best year in practice. That was my impossible goal. And I was, a little reluctant about that, but I'm like, all right, coach said to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And we're breaking every record that we've ever had in the office right now. This week, I've just had my biggest collection week I've ever had. And we're way above schedule as far as having our best collection year. And I attribute that to a lot of things. I've had great coaches, as I said. Before signing on with you, I'd coached for the past over a year with Dr. Russ Rosen to get my story right.
Yes.
I had to get my story right, and he was instrumental in that.
Let's talk about that a little, because Russ is a dear friend of mine. I can't. And if any of you here are looking for somebody, we'll talk about what getting your story right, because I think when it comes to that, Russ's work is better than anybody's. So what does that mean? What does getting your story right mean?
It's all about the communication. And it's helped me with my videos as well. It's knowing how Russ would say, the psychology of communication.
Yes.
And how to connect with the people, from the first handshake right on through, doing a prepay for a plan of care, or just a commitment to any sort of a plan of care. The level of commitment with my patients has been amazing with what's happening there. So, and Russ just takes you through step by step that whole, and I've had scripting, and I've had a lot of coaches, as I said, and they've all been great. But what made Russ different was the psychology behind it. You know, why do people connect in certain ways? And it just makes such good sense. And you don't have to learn a script, you don't have to memorize, but you just got to know how to make that connection. So that's been great. And then, so what I felt like it was time for me to do something different with my videos, and look at that as a whole marketing segment, because I've been doing radio and newspapers, and I've done some TV and what have you. And I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to this video world. And that's when I signed on with you to teach me that. And what's happened with the practice is my web presence, I'm averaging over 2,000 people a month looking for my website.
Yes.
And the last time they were spending a minute on the website, that was the average. So from what I'm reading, that's pretty good statistics there.
Yes.
Because they're going in there, and for them to spend a minute, they're looking at videos and they're doing other things in there as well. And my videos are moving up. We're up to I think we've got 70 positive Google reviews going right now. So 3 out of 4 new patients that come into my office, you know, I ask them who referred them, and they said Google.
Yep.
So, you know, it's a combination of all that together.
And because the good thing is you've managed a lot of, and have been able to manage a lot of that yourself, because I think prior you were paying somebody to help you out with all these kind of things and not getting nearly the results of just following some simple steps of kind of creating some videos. Is that right? Or am I imagining that?
Well, no, in the beginning I had somebody do it all for me, but you know, that wasn't getting me anywhere really. I was averaging, you know, 5 or 10 people on my website every month. It wasn't doing anything.
Yes.
And then, you know, I've done all of my video work myself, and I've just recently hired a young man to do all my video editing for me. So just free me up some time there. Because, I mean, I'm only practicing part-time, but I got a full life. My wife and I go for bike rides after work. We go kayaking, we go on the river. I live on the river, so, you know, that's part of the enthusiasm is my chiropractic has allowed me to have a fantastic life outside of the office. So it's not the only thing I do.
I'm going to ask some questions about that too. I've got some doozies coming at you about you and Lisa as well. So I want to get into that also. And then because there's a couple of things I just want to share back with our audience. So what Miguel said before, there's 2,000 people a month coming to his website, and they're spending on average a minute there. Now, some people will bounce just off there very quickly, but a minute is a long time to spend on a website. That's somebody that's not, most of us, most people will, if they're not interested, they're bouncing off in about 6 seconds. So they're poking their head in and they're having a little bit of a look around. This is somebody that's interested. And there's nothing fancy that Miguel has done. Create some neat little videos. He pops them up on Facebook. Some of them he'll boost, but he's also, the other really important thing, we haven't touched on this as well, is that you also made some very subtle but very important changes to your website as well. That meant when people got there, they were going to spend a bit more time. You know, that was the other thing too, that when I said to you, look, you've got some good traffic coming to your website, but your website is okay, but it's not magnetic. And again, so you being the great student, just it was too busy. There was no real focus in terms of what was happening with regards to it too. And so you cleaned up all of those kind of things. But 2,000 people coming every month to your website, that's building a real presence, which then helps the ranking of your website and, you know, the Google My Business stuff. Have you been consistent with adding little bits and pieces on your Google My Business site as well, or has that kind of dropped off?
Yeah. Oh, no. You know, every time they'll send you little reminders. Hey, congratulations, you got so many reviews, you know, make another post. And I don't always post something, but I'll think of something, you know. But yeah, I've been trying to keep up with it. You know, you take times when you get busy and you drop off, and here I'm back on a good kick here with it. And my commitment is to do at least 1 video a week, and maybe even work on 2 videos a week now that I got somebody doing the editing for me. So
yes,
I just did a video this morning, and I'm excited about getting all that going again here. Good and strong.
Yes. The other, you know, Miguel, one of the And I mentioned to you as well, I need to get a bracelet for myself that was, what would Miguel do in this situation? And I do often ask myself, I know I chuckle about that, and as we have, and you've kind of bounced it back to me at different times there too. One of the other things that I really admire about you also is that the seemingly very beautiful relationship that you still have with Lisa, who we've mentioned a couple of times. You and Lisa have been married how long now?
37 years.
Yeah. And you bike ride together. You still spend a lot of time together as well. Why is that relationship still so passionate and enthusiastic and still so loving after 37 years?
Well, I think we respect each other quite a bit.
Yep.
She's definitely, a big part of my practice. I've got a whole laser suite in my office. We have 10 low-level lasers, and she runs that. So patients come in, I do the assessment, and I say, oh yeah, well, we need to do laser. I just turn them over to Lisa. I don't even get involved with it anymore. She writes up their prescriptions and figures out how often they need to come in, and takes over from there. I do reassessments every 12 visits or so. So she runs her own practice there. During all the training that I've done over the years with different techniques, I always took her with me. If I go to a seminar, we go to a Parker seminar, people get to talking to her, they think she's a chiropractor. She talks the talk, and I can probably leave her in the office here because she adjusts me with the instruments. I could probably leave her in the office, take a week off, nobody'd know the difference, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I've not done that. So,
yet.
So, but we do a lot together, and it's been a learning curve. I can't tell you it's always been that way. We had our little spats and difficulties, but I made a commitment a long time ago that she was my partner for life, and whatever it takes, it's what's going to do. I think I mentioned to you during the COVID, we had a 30-day challenge. Remember I told you about that? Do I need to mention that on?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, absolutely, I do.
We had a 30-day. We were going to have sex every day for 30 days.
Yes.
During the beginning of COVID, because we were going home early. Well, and what was there to do? We made it I think we made 25 days. It's harder than you think.
I know it is. Yes, I know. I've tried, and you wouldn't think it would be. So, but yes, we get busy and distracted. Because there are other things too. You have a practice that you and Lisa regularly do, just an intimacy practice where you just look into each other's eyes as well. Yes.
Yeah. We spend 3 minutes knee to knee, holding hands, just basically inches away from each other, and looking into the eyes. Don't say anything, no music, just look into the eyes. And you're listening to somebody's soul that way. It's we'll ask each other, what did you see? After, what did you feel after that? So yeah, that's a regular practice that we like to do. We'll also dance, just the two of us, and usually in our bathroom. We'll use my iPhone, put on our favorite music. Our favorite song is All of Me with, who's that? The author, I can't think of his name right now. All of You, All of Me.
Right. I'll have to look for that one.
Leonard. I can't think of it. I can't think of the guy's name that sings it.
I'll add it to the show notes for those that might be interested. Yeah. You know what? It's still, the eye gazing is something that I find very difficult, particularly 3 minutes. Lauren and I have regularly done a minute, but now that you said 3 minutes, there was like, whew, it's incredibly intimate to do that as well. How often do you and Lisa do that?
Well, we take spells. We'll do it on a weekly basis for a while, and we might go a month or so, and we've not looked into each other's eyes. She's the one that usually brings it up, just like, we've not looked into each other's eyes in a while. I said, okay, honey, let's go ahead and do that. And then, we haven't danced in a while. Okay, let's dance there. So, well, that's, I guess, part of it. You got to be there for your partner. So
Yeah.
never says no to me. I never say no to her. It's yes, dear. So.
Good thoughts. What are you excited about in the next couple of years? What are you looking forwards to doing? Can you feel more evolution happening into you? What's the next change that's coming forwards?
Well, my next big challenge is implementing the Carrick work, which
Yes.
I'm really excited about the Carrick work. And I've already got a website planned, a page on my web for brain-based opportunities here. And I
Yes.
think with all this COVID stuff, it's going to explode. People are just going to have problems from the stresses and everything that's been going on. So I'm still working that out. And, again, that's just part of the whole process of learning and part of the excitement. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But, we go on from there. As I said, I don't have any retirement plans.
Yes.
My X-ray unit just crashed on me, so I got a new X-ray unit coming in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So, my wife was saying, "Do we need to get a new one?" I said, "Absolutely, we need to get a new one. I am not ready to give it up yet."
Miguel, we have thousands of listeners of different ages and experiences in chiropractic and from around the globe as well. If you are able to share a little bit of wisdom that might help them have the same kind of passion and enthusiasm that you have after 40 years of practice and 37 years of marriage, what would you share with them?
Continuing the whole theme of reinventing yourself, I think, has been key to everything we've talked about tonight. It rekindles passion within you, and there's that little bit of a scare factor that brings up the cortisol levels and brings up the endorphins and gets you going. So it's actually good to be a little bit afraid. A lot of people are too afraid of change and they end up never changing. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is not being willing to change. So that would be my advice. Be willing.
Miguel, I want to thank you for. I've had the pleasure of working with you as a coach, and I want to share with you that you have taught me as much as I feel like I have taught you by who you are. You kind of started off at the beginning by saying it's not necessarily what I do, it's who I am, and you are the living example of excitement, enthusiasm, a great student, a good teacher as well. And so I really want to acknowledge you for all that you have given to me. You helped me want to be a better husband, a chiropractor and teacher as well. I'm so damn excited to see what continues to happen for you in these next couple of years. I know that you will implement this Carrick stuff, and I look forward to you reaching out and telling me of your continued growth as well. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you for allowing me to participate. Again, it's a great honor. God bless.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. Have a great evening and just keep rocking.
All right. Appreciate it, buddy.
If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.